Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and my goal today is to give you a good start in Star Citizen. Since I last made one of these guides, CIG have actually added a fairly decent new player tutorial, but I know that some people are always going to prefer to have a video to follow along with. And I also know that a lot of my long-term supporters who are already experienced players won't have any need for this vid, but if you could think about sharing this with newer folks you come across, maybe in your orgs or friends, then that would be doing me a massive favour. The current iteration of SC is obviously far from complete, and we're still very much in an alpha state of the game. But even so, there's far more depth than I can cover in a single video, even if this is going to turn into a bit of an epic. My goal here is to take our time running through enough of the basics to give you a really good leg up. But from there, you're still going to be doing a lot of learning. Don't let that put you off though. Despite the steep learning curve and plentiful jank, SC is one of the most enjoyable games I've ever played. It has a fantastic supportive community. So if this all sounds good to you, then grab a cup of tea while I roll the intro, and then let's get into it. We're going to start at the very beginning, creating an account. If you've already done all this, then feel free to just use the chapters to navigate ahead a bit. But believe it or not, simply buying the game is not the clearest thing in Star Citizen. So first you're going to want to head to the Roberts Space Industries website. Why it's not starcitizen.com, I don't know, but hey ho. Here you just click on the account in the top right, and then enlist now. Fill in the details, keeping in mind that your call sign is going to be what people see you as in the game. When you're setting the account up, be sure to click here to add a referral code. This will get you a bit of extra starter cash. You unfortunately can't come back and add this afterwards. So mine's the code up on screen, but if you've got any friends who play already, then just ask them for theirs. Keep in mind that to participate in one of the regular free fly events, this is all you need to do. You don't need to instantly get a pledge copy, and a good few times a year CIG will open the game up with at least a couple of ships to get you going. There's probably one coming up very soon, either late in October or November with CitizenCon and the IAE event. However, assuming that you want to get straight in, you'll need to grab a game pack. So click on the pledge store and then on game packages. Quite an important distinction, a game package will come with a ship and access to the game, while a standalone ship, like this F-7C Hornet, is just the ship on its own. A mildly silly thing, the website won't, as far as I know, stop you from buying just a standalone ship, and then being unable to actually get into the game. In terms of which game pack exactly, the two I fall back on mostly are the two cheapest, the RSI Aurora and the Consolidated Outlander Mustang Alpha. Both of these have a base price of $45 before tax. But keep an eye out for discounted packs like this Drake Cutter, which might give you a bit more bang for your buck, a bit more of an advanced starter ship for the same price at a certain time. I've made an entire video on all of the possible starters out there, so I'll link that at the end of the video and in the video description. But really truly, it's not a huge decision to get hung up on. It's mostly just about which one you like the look of the most. Just remember that nearly all the ships can be bought in-game. And after you get going, it doesn't take too long to use your starter to upgrade for credits rather than hard currency. It's easy to get in a bit deep on the spending with Star Citizen without thinking too much about it. So while I don't make a habit of telling people how to spend the money that they earned or found in a bag in the woods, one thing I do try and encourage people to do is to start small. Just get in and get going for as cheap as possible. Anyway, once that's all done, go ahead and follow the instructions on screen to download the client and the game, and then let's get started properly. So we're into the game, and at the first loading screen we've got a choice between the Persistent Universe, or PU, and Arena Commander. AC is essentially a set of arcade modes, which we'll come back to take a look at a bit later. But for now, let's get into the PU. Up first, we've got character creation, I'm sure you can spend hours here getting that perfect look, but right now I'm going to go with good old standard Stan to save a few minutes. Just click accept and confirm. Now we're going to be asked if we want to play the tutorial. Now this might well be a good idea, but you also might be here after having played said tutorial and found it hasn't given you enough insight. Or you might just hate in-game tutorials. So we're going to hit skip, and I'm going to go all the way from the start. Next up we want to select system, which at the time of recording at least only has Stanton as an option. Then we have to select one of Stanton's 4 starter locations. I've got a video discussing all of these, but right now I'm going to pick Area 18 since this is where the tutorial forces people to start anyway. So we'll spawn in our bed. You can look around with your mouse, but to get up either hold Y or move forward with W and hit spacebar. Movement is all standard WASD, so let's move to the door and use F to enter interact mode. When you're holding F, you can then click left mouse on the open button to escape the hab. At any time that I say interact with, this is what I mean. You might want to invest in a spare F key for your keyboard since we're going to be using this one a lot. Scroll up and down on your mouse wheel to control your character's walking speed, and sprint with shift if you want to move a bit quicker. Get along to the elevator and use F to interact with the call button, then again to look at this panel. You can zoom in on any panels by clicking middle mouse button, letting you scroll through options with the mouse wheel. We want the ground floor though, which is always going to be at the bottom. You can press F4 to cycle the camera, and then you can use the free look key on Z to position the camera around your character if you want to get some nice screenshots or something. Press F4 twice to cycle through back to first person. Pressing F1 will bring up your mobiGlas. This is like your smartphone, and on the main screen will give you a bunch of info about your character, including your current cash balance, crime stat and vitals. It's got a bunch of other apps that we'll look at later, but right now I just wanted to check that I've got a few credits for a bit of shopping. I'm going to head into one of my favourite shops, Cubby Blast, since it conveniently sells weapons and armour. You can approach the store shelves and use F to interact with items on display. Notice that sometimes when you interact you get more than one option, so for instance I might just want to take a look at this P4 by clicking inspect. Looks good to me, so I'll go ahead and click buy this time. While I'm here, I might as well go ahead and buy a few of these attachments for it as well. A gun's all well and good, but a suit of armour is also helpful. I'm going to try on this Orc Singularity set. I could buy all of this off the mannequin, but instead I'll head to the terminal on the wall, where we can access the shop's whole inventory, including some things that won't be on display. I liked the Singularity set though, so I'll just use that as a search term. Then I can quickly buy each set of the armour. Most armours have 4, arms, torso, helmet and legs. We'll also look for a backpack, so I'm going to click on the subcategory drop down and go to backpacks. Now I've just bought medium armour, so I'll only be able to fit medium or light backpacks onto it. I wouldn't be able to equip a heavy one for instance. So this seems like a good fit to me. Right, now for a nice bit of kit that will make life in the verse a whole lot easier. I'm going to clear the subcategory field, and I'm going to search Pyro to get myself a Pyro multi-tool, and then Tractor to get myself a tractor beam attachment. I'll also search Med to buy a few extra med pens. Finally, I've got my gun, but I've got very few bullets for it. So I'll search P4, the name of my weapon, and that will bring up spare mags for it. This time if I select buy over on the right, I'll be able to increase the quantity I buy in one go. Just walk away from any kiosk like this with S to exit. Now to equip this stuff, open inventory with I. You'll find these bits in the menu on the right hand side. You can drag items onto and off your character with left mouse, and you can see anywhere that you can equip an item because it will have a little circle. You can also quickly equip either by double clicking or right clicking and selecting equip in the menu. Hold down right mouse button and drag the mouse to spin the camera around your character. Backpacks will give you 2 slots for larger weapons, in addition to the pistol on your hip. You can drag attachments like the scope and suppressor we bought onto the gun itself. Again, you'll get the little circles to indicate where they fit. Your armour has multiple slots for items like magazines and med pens. Either drag these into the specific slots or just double click for auto attach. And finally, the multi-tool can go onto our hip into one of our utility slots, and we'll want to drag the tractor beam attachment onto that. Keep in mind that as a brand new player, you might not want to buy this gear immediately. I just wanted to show you the inventory system and how to equip stuff onto your character as well as buying things in shops. However, it might make sense to just get your space legs a little bit and make your first flight in the basic undersuit and helmet. And speaking of which, in a game called Star Citizen, we've spent far too much time planetside. So let's get heading to the spaceport. Each city is different, but they all have a spaceport, and you'll always want to look for the train heading there from the main hab area. So here in Area 18, we want to head to the Arc Flight building, down the stairs, and to the line for Riker Memorial Spaceport. Once you make it to the spaceport, follow the pathway round through customs, and follow the signs heading towards the hangars. You'll always find a row of these yellow ASOP terminals. Interact with these and you'll see a list of your ships. I've got 2 on this account since there was a deal when I created it, but for the purposes of this video the MPUV is a bit useless. So I'm going to click here to deliver the Mustang Alpha instead. Delivery happens instantly the first time, so we can then go back and select Retrieve. The system then assigns us a hangar, so we're going to be heading to Hangar 3. Just go to the nearby elevators, and if you forget which hangar it's in, you can always look at the marker to remind yourself. And here we are at our Mustang. The indicator will show where you can get in. Longer term, you might want to turn this off because it can be a bit busy on the HUD, but at the start it's definitely going to be useful when you're finding your way around different ships. Interact here and select Enter Ship. Once you're in, press Right Alt and R to enable Flight Ready and turn on all of your systems at once. You can use F to interact with all the various buttons in your cockpit, but personally I think you'll give yourself a much smoother experience if you start learning the hotkeys from the very beginning. We can use the free look key on Z to take a look out of our cockpit windows, and one thing you'll notice immediately is the big old blast door blocking our way out of the hangar. To get going, let's hit F11 to jump straight to the comms menu of our mobiGlas, and click on Friends. Then on this button next to Area 18 landing services, they'll get the doors moving for us. F4 can be used to go into third person on your ship to give you a better view, and spacebar will give us some upthrust to get us out of the hangar. As you can see, our wings are all folded up and our landing gear's down, so hit N to raise the landing gear up. Just a few movement basics here. Left and right strafe is on A and D. Down strafe is on control, along with up strafe on space. And roll is on Q and E. Use the mouse to pitch the nose of the ship around. So let's point our nose skyward and start thrusting forwards with W. You can increase your ship's speed limit by rolling up on the mouse wheel to allow yourself to hit higher speeds. But we don't want to have our finger on the W key the entire time we're getting to orbit, so you can activate cruise control by hitting left Alt and C. If you want to give yourself a bit more juice, you can hold down Shift to activate boost. So while we're exiting atmosphere, I think it's a pretty good time to take a quick look around our HUD. Apologies in advance to any flight nerds as I pronounce or spell any of these things wrong. Feel free to drop me a quick actually in the comments. Starting over on the left hand side, we've got a few indicators that right now don't mean a huge amount to you, but for the sake of completeness, we'll take a look at them. VTOL is for ships that have vertical takeoff and landing engines that swivel between positions, so you would control this with K, but our Mustang doesn't have any. Coupled indicates whether or not you are in coupled or decoupled. You switch with C. For now, stay in the default coupled mode. Essentially, this means that if you take your hands off everything, your ship will bring itself to a neutral state, stopping and hovering on the spot. In decoupled mode, your engines won't automatically correct against your motion. This can be really useful for more advanced maneuvers, but for now at least you're going to know what's happening if your ship isn't stopping by itself when cruise control is off. ESP is enhanced stick precision that helps you a bit with aiming, just leave this one on for now. And gear indicates if your landing gear is up or down. It'll flash during the transition. Above these we have boost and thrust indicators. As we're boosting to get out of atmo, this is run down a bit. When it hits 0, you'll have to wait for it to recharge before boosting again. To the right is the speedometer, which shows your current speed in meters per second. Sorry Americans, we're going to get you on metric somehow. The square on the right hand side of the speedo shows your current speed limit, and the little hat on the right side of that shows that cruise control is currently on. In the middle we've got the attitude indicator, which shows our current pitch. You'll only see this with the artificial horizon when you're in atmo, and it can be a good way to see if you're in or out of atmo when you're approaching a planet or moon. 0 means you're flying level, 90 is straight up, minus 90 is straight down to the ground. Above that is your compass showing your bearing. Then over across to the right we've got the altimeter, which gives you a readout of your current altitude. Further across from that we've got information on our weapon systems. The Mustang Alpha comes stock with 2 M4A laser cannons, and we can see here that we've got 41 shots in each before they need to recharge. Then lower down we can see our fuel gauges. Hydrogen fuel is used for regular flight like getting out of atmo, while quantum fuel is used for longer distance quantum travel, which brings us nicely on to our next step. If you're looking to travel to something that's more than 50 kilometers away or so, then you're going to want to use your QT drive when you can, rather than your hydrogen engines to eat up that distance. We can plot a course in the star map. Open this Mobileglass app with F2. Double click on ArcCorp to zoom in on the area, then scroll in with the mouse wheel to get a closer view, holding down left mouse and spinning the camera by dragging your mouse. We're coming from Area 18, which is the big white circle, but we want to set a course for Bajini Point. Every major landing zone has one of these low orbit space stations directly above it, and it should be your first stop off whenever you start fresh. Left click to select it, and then click Set Route at the top. Over in the top left of the screen you'll now see this course has been logged, and you can close out of the map by pressing F2 again. Enter quantum travel mode and start your drive spooling by pressing B, then look for a little arrow indicating your course. At this point I started to see a downside to the Mustang with its very bright orange HUD being a little annoying for this sort of thing. Line up with the destination and let the drive calibrate, then hold B down to travel. That'll eat those couple hundred kilometers in no time. When you come out the other side, just be aware that now since we're fully in space, speeds can get really cranked up, so be sure to keep it under control with your limiter on the mouse wheel. You can turn cruise control off at any time by pressing W or S to activate manual thrust. Sometimes, when it's a bit dark, you might want to let out a ping by holding and releasing the V key. This will give you the outlines of any inconveniently placed space stations to avoid clattering into them. As we approach, you'll notice the Armistice Zone icon appear in the top right of the screen. Armistice zones exist around major LZs, space stations, and some outposts, and essentially mean you're not meant to be pew-pewing. Some, like the ones at the major LZs, are hard armistice, meaning you won't physically be able to fire, while others are soft. If you pew-pew too much, you'll get in trouble, but you can technically do it. The satellite icon next to it indicates that we're within a comm array, meaning that if we were to do naughty criminal things, then we would get a crime stat. Generally, comm arrays are up within all the planetary systems, with areas of dead space when you travel in between them, but they can be manually taken down. So if you're busying yourself on a moon or planet and notice that that icon is missing, just be a bit more on your toes than usual because something could be awry. When you get closer in, you'll see the message "Contact ATC to land" pop up in red on your HUD. We could use the F11 comm menu to call again, but I want to get you using those shortcuts, so by default hit Alt and N to call for landing. Personally, I've rebound this to F3 on my keyboard, since I find it way easier to reach without taking my hands too far off the main flight controls. You'll then see a marker indicating your hangar, so let's head towards there. You can reduce your speed quicker using your space brake on X, but to get this really working you want to pair it with Shift to add your boost. You can always use F4 to look at the ship in third person if it's easier, and don't forget to pop your landing gear down with N before trying to land. Although let's face it, every SC player tries to land with the landing gear up at least once a month, or maybe that's just me. Now I love a speedy landing, but to start with, use that speed limiter to control your speed as you come into the hangar, to avoid your first flight ending here with a bang. Now that we're safely down, let's take a quick look at servicing our ship. So open the Mobiglass with F1 or F2, and look for the wrench icon along the bottom. This will bring you to the maintenance menu. Thankfully, we haven't taken any physical damage on the way up here. You can see we've used just a little bit of hydrogen fuel. Just click on the auto button to pay a princely 24 credits to top your tank up. And I wish real world gas prices were anywhere like this. So we could now press U to turn off all of our ship's systems, but instead I just want to press I to turn off the engines. You can also individually turn on and off the shields with O and weapons with P. But leaving the engines off when you leave a ship is nearly always sensible if you're in gravity. But by turning specifically them off, we won't need to wait for our shields or weapons to power up when we come back to it. Quick disclaimer, if you're in 0G, always leave your engines on, since if your ship takes a knock while you're messing around, it will self-right with the engines. Now we can hop out of the ship by holding down the Y key, and we're going to want to make our way to the elevators. Select Lobby to head into the station interior. First, we're going to come to another row of ASOP terminals. At every location, you'll always find this pattern with ASOP terminals right next to the access to the hangars. We can interact with one of these and select the garage icon next to our Mustang to store the ship. Generally speaking, if you log out with your ship in a hangar, it will automatically store. But it pays to be on the safe side, so if you can form this habit early, it's all for the best. So now let's go and take a look around the station. Much as in real life, I find it hard to walk past a hot dog stand, particularly one with such a great slogan. But eating tends to be a bit troublesome with a helmet in the way of your mouth. You can take this off by pressing I and dragging the helmet into your inventory. You can also use the action wheel. To open this up, press F, left mouse button and right mouse button simultaneously. The wheel will bring up your stats down in the bottom left, showing amongst other things your HP, food and drink levels. I'm not particularly hungry or thirsty right now, so I guess this hot dog is all just about the flavour. But the wheel also contains access to a number of actions, one of which is unequipping our helmet. So if I click that segment, the helmet will come off and go into our inventory. In the same way as with other shops, we can interact with the items on display and select quick buy. Personally, I'm not sure what was wrong with how these hot dogs look, and once it's in your hand you can just hold down left mouse button to eat. Just enjoy those high quality eating animations. Don't forget to pop that helmet back on, since I hear being able to breathe outside is highly underrated. Our next stop though is the medical clinic. These terminals by the entrance will let us check in, giving a room number. Find the corresponding room and it'll open up for you. Medbeds are used for treating injuries if you have any. We're perfectly healthy now, but I want you to know this for the future if you scrape your knee or something. However, they also act as respawn points. Select regeneration from the interface and then transfer imprint. Now if we have an accident and end up dead, we're going to spawn back here, not down on the planet. You want to do this as soon as you can so that setbacks don't hit you too hard. The clinics also have a pharmacy which sells medical items, which can be nice. And a quick edit here because I forgot to do this on the way out. I wanted to show you checking in at a clinic and the med beds, but if you want to just set your spawn, then you can do it from these insurance terminals, which you'll usually just find just past the front desk. Now we're really well set up, but I'm conscious that all we've been doing is eating into our meagre supply of credits. So how about making some money for a change? Open up your Mobilglass with F1 and navigate to the contract manager icon along the bottom. This will open up an array of jobs for you to do across a variety of professions. Now while there might be some more glamorous jobs out there, I'm going to recommend that you get your space legs in the exciting world of package delivery, as thank God Ravnak doesn't watch my videos. This Kovalex evaluation mission is offering the princely sum of 3,000 credits, and all we have to do is pick up a package from one moon and take it to another in the ArcCorp system. Just hit accept offer to take it. This will now appear in our accepted tab. You can track and untrack the mission using this button, but let's leave it tracked. We now get HUD markers for where we need to go. It's a bit far, so we'll need to get our ship back out. Once you're strapped in, fire up the engines again with I. I want to do the third and final way to call ATC, so use F to interact with your ship's displays or MFDs. First click on menu at the top, then click on the little Wi-Fi symbol next to Bikini Point. This will get those doors moving. The hotkeys are more efficient, but I know some players love this level of immersion, so it's always cool to show. Once we're out of the hangar, let's open up the star map with F2 and zoom in on the moon Lyria. We can then see Loveridge Mineral Reserve, where we need to go pick up the package. Clicking set course will set us a 2-stage jump, first to Lyria, then down to Loveridge. Jumping to planetary locations works exactly the same as other jumps. Spool, aim, calibrate, then hold B to engage the jump drive. Now I was personally hoping for a stunning moon vista, but it seems that I'm on the night side. Again, you can use those pings, holding and releasing V to keep an eye on where the ground is and making sure that no mountains sneak up on you. Moons have thinner atmospheres, so it is possible to travel quite fast on them. If you need to stop in a hurry, use your brakes and boost. Keep in mind that the size of your thrusters matters. So on our Mustang, the biggest engines are providing forward thrust. So if I want to stop as soon as possible, I can turn the ship so that these are facing the other way and they can arrest my motion. Pop those engines off when you're down on the ground, then let's take a look at the trunk. You may have noticed that the Mustang is a bit light on space, but conveniently it has this external storage box that we can lower and open. Other ships like the Aurora will have plenty of space for a box internally. Outposts like Loveridge will typically have airlocks. Just open the external door, then interact with the cycle panel, which will open the internal one. Follow the HUD marker through the building to find the box, and then interact with it and select carry to pick it up. There's something else I want to do before we leave, so I'm just going to pop the box down. Holding F and looking at it, I have two options, drop or place. Drop will do what it says on the tin, but I'm going to place it because I don't work for Yodel. I wanted to stop because out of the corner of my eye, I spied a loot crate. These boxes at outposts can contain some useful gubbins, particularly for a newer player. Who doesn't like a bit of free armor, for example? So you'll notice that you have an inventory at this outpost, so you can cheat a little bit and drag the item to that rather than carrying it to your ship. I'm going to take a bit more of a look around and see if there are any other goodies here. But with my loot lust filled, it's time to head back to the ship. Now I could carry the box, but I want to take a look at the tractor beam. Bring your tool out by pressing 4. If you've got another utility item like a medgun, you might have to press 4 again to cycle them. Look at the box and activate the tractor beam with left mouse button. You can push and pull the item using the mouse wheel to control how far away it is from you, and release it again by clicking left mouse again. Using a tractor beam like this can make things a lot quicker than carrying, but keep in mind that they won't work inside armistice zones. Using the tractor beam, pop the box down in the cargo hold of your ship, then close it all up, hop back in and launch back up out into space. We're going to want to QT jump again to get to ArcCorp's other moon Wala, but we don't always have to use the star map. You can see the destination thanks to the HUD marker, but unfortunately it is directly through Lyria as the bird flies. So we're going to press B to open quantum mode, and without a course set, we'll see our options. OM points like this one are found around all of the moons and planets. These are orbital markers which will help you navigate around the different sides. Lining up on OM5 here, I can wait for the calibration, then just hold B to jump. And now I have a clear line of sight and can make that jump in a similar way towards Wala itself. Manual jumps like this will just save a bit of time since you don't have to always be going in and out of the star map. When we arrive, we can then line up the final jump to the outpost for our delivery. Hexagons indicate ground locations. And the cool thing to know is that solid outlines indicate a destination is on the same side of the planet as you, while dotted lines indicate it's round the other side. It doesn't really matter as your ship will calibrate a journey around a planet like that, but it's good to know if you just try and work out whether a location is in the sun or not. Once we're down on the ground, we can get our package out again. There's an armistice zone at this outpost, so no tractor beam unfortunately. But bring the box into the building marked on the HUD and take it to this machine. Interact with the deposit option, then interact again to place the box in the slot. That will then complete the contract, making us 3,000 credits richer. Now time to do some more looting. Speaking of looting, I should have shown you this at the other end, to be honest. When you're inside your ship, you can open inventory with I and select vehicles from one of the tabs to access your ship's internal storage. This will allow you to move the items that were too big to carry out of the local inventory and into your ship. You can also use the Move All button to move items from one inventory like your backpack to another in bulk. Other ships are way easier to do this with since they have interiors that you can stand in. If you don't mind demeaning yourself, crawling into the trunk offers even Mustang pilots this. Right, so that was the one and only package delivery mission I will ever do, and if anyone tells my head moderator Ravnak that I did it, I will call you a liar and a scoundrel. So time for something a little bit higher risk and higher reward. We've got some guns and we've got some armour, so how about a bit of mercenary work? In the contract manager under the mercenary section, you'll find the Protect Site trial contract. Kill a few bad guys, get paid 15k. That's more like it, so let's accept this offer. While I'm at it, I want to go back to the general tab, back to mercenary, and also accept call to arms. This is a great mission to always have running in the background, since it will reward you 500 credits or so for every bad guy you take out. So let's head on over to Lyria again, and down to the bunker site. This is exactly the same drill as we did it with the outposts, so I won't make you sit through that a second time. Park up outside the bunker, and hop out of your ship. To get your weapon out, press 2 for your long arms, and 1 for your pistol. Head inside and take the elevator down. Now these missions are fairly simple. There are 10 bad guys from the Ninetales gang who we need to help the local security forces take out. The important thing is not killing the security guards. But kill the purple guys, do not kill the other guys. Here in ArcCorp, the guards wear red armour, but it varies around the system. What you will tend to see though is a marker above friendlies' heads. Take your time, and when running solo, be sure to check your corners, since if you get capped it might be a long traipse back to get your body. Controls are all standard FPS, crouch with control, jump with space, lean with Q and E, and aim down sights with right mouse button. Hold shift when aiming to hold your breath and steady yourself a bit. If you've got a weapon like this P4 that can go full auto, it might help to change to semi-automatic. Just switch fire modes with B. Pay particular attention to elevators, since these are the spawn closets for the bad guys and they can sneak out behind you. If you take a hit, retreat and press C to bring out a med pen, then left click to stab yourself and stem the bleeding. Reload with R, and while you're looking the wrong way, back up into a bad guy and panic put him down with 20 rounds on full auto. Some of which hit him. Okay, don't do that bit maybe. When you're down to the last 2 bad guys, handy HUD markers will open for them, making them wonderfully easy to locate. And just like that, we're 15k richer. But the credits were only half the reward because, like outposts, bunkers also have loot. But because they're more dangerous, they have better loot. Red boxes will contain weapons, ammo and armour. Medical boxes with the cross icon will have med supplies like med guns and med pens. And small grey boxes will contain small items like multi-tools, crypto keys and knives. You can even use your tractor beam to carry entire bodies complete with their armour sets. I'll grab this guy, who I'm going to call Heavy Bob on account of his heavy armour. How you dress is up to you, but I would prioritise guard armour over bad guy armour. If you're doing bunkers with a friend at some point, wearing the same outfit as the naughty people is liable to get you shot. You have a total of 15 minutes to loot before the turrets outside will consider you a hostile trespasser. But don't rush, as a new player, bunker missions like this can be an invaluable source of spare weapons and armour sets, making it a lot less painful when you lose stuff in the beginning. So once I've got Heavy Bob all the way back to the ship, I can stuff him in the trunk, sorry for the ignoble treatment Bob, and when he's here we can access his inventory alongside the ship's. To loot all of his gear in one fell swoop, simply drag the undersuit from his inventory to the ship's. All the other items will follow. Now unfortunately we don't need Naked Bob, so let's chuck him out of our ship. Successfully completing your first trial contract will open up more Protect Site missions, so consider using these to build up a few credits and gear sets. But now I'm going to head set a course back to Bikini Point, because before throwing my little Mustang into battle, I want to do a few upgrades. So when you land, just be sure to get into your ship inventory and unload all the goodies into the station inventory. That way it's just safe and it will be there if you meet an untimely end. Once the ship is safely tucked away, head to these internal transit elevators and select Galleria. Every station will have one of these shopping decks, but what shops are on offer and what stuff they sell will vary from station to station. Now though, I'm pleased to see there's a Platinum Bay here, since this is one of the shops offering ship components. I'm going to head straight to the terminal and use subcategory drop down to look at what quantum drives they have for sale. Upgrading my stock drive to a Voyage for a bit of a quicker travel time seems like a good deal for 15k, so I'll go ahead and buy one of those. I also spied a ship weapons store. Just like in other shops, you can buy stuff straight off the displays or use the terminals. Both basic Auroras and Mustangs come with 2 weapon slots used, but they also have 2 empty size 1 slots. My Mustang's already got 2 M4A laser cannons, so I'm going to stick with laser cannons and buy some M3As, which are the size 1 version. There is a total rabbit warren that you can go down when it comes to loadouts, so I won't have time to go into all of it here. The important thing is looking at how to buy and equip ship parts. So open up the Mobiglass with F1 and navigate to the Vehicle Manager app using the button with the ship on it. From the drop down menu, we'll select the Mustang. Then when it loads up, we will start by looking at the Systems menu. Click on Quantum Drive, where we can see the stock rush and our new Voyage. Click on the Voyage to select it, then in the bottom right click Save Changes and Equip. Now navigate to the Vehicle Weapons tab, click on the empty right wing mount and select the M3A cannon, then do the same for the left wing, and again click Save Changes and Equip. Congratulations, your starter ship is now just a little more spicy. So let's put that spice to good use with a little ship combat. Open up your contract manager and look under the Bounty Hunter tab. Before you can start making money taking out crims, you first have to pay money to prove that you can take out crims by taking out a crim. This mission is going to cost you 500 credits, Once you do it, you'll be able to start taking low-level bounties and working your way up. This particular Theron Decker is all the way across in Microtech, on the other side of the Stanton system. So pull your ship out and head out of the station. Keep in mind that in ship combat, your gear isn't really going to help you. So if you want to avoid losing it, chuck everything but your undersuit and your helmet into the station's inventory. Set a course over to Microtech, make another cup of tea, and get real comfy, because in a small ship like this is going to be a long old jump. Now, unfortunately and fortunately, this is where both real life and Star Citizen things happened for me. So I was going to say something smart like, through the magic of video editing, we're here. But instead, my little French bulldog had some other ideas, and I ended up chasing him round so long that I timed out and ended up back in the menus. But this made me realise something. So for newer players looking to get into ship combat, or racing for that matter, I can now really highly recommend Star Citizen's Arena Commander module, since as of patch 320 it's had some serious upgrades. I still left a bit about taking a bounty mission and travelling to Microtech in there, because I think knowing where to look for these missions and how to make longer jumps is quite important. The huge benefit here is that you can get straight into the action. If you die, so what? You can just respawn and try again immediately. No getting ready, no big jumps, no lost progress, just pew-pews. Which realistically is a perfect, frustration-free place to begin in a profession that might see you shot to pieces. So start by heading to Arena Commander from the main menu, then select your ship from the vehicle selection screen. You can customize a loadout here too, so we can put all the same guns on as we had in the PU for practice. Arena Commander uses a separate currency called REC, which can be used to rent ship components and guns. And the cool thing is that you get REC just for taking part. So if you haven't got much to start with, just play a few games. Once you're happy with your loadout, make sure you're set to online, since that's the only mode where you will get this REC. And I recommend starting with Pirate Swarm, since it will give us plenty of NPCs to shoot. Arena Commander also has a number of PvP modes, but if you start there, you're probably just going to die a lot. Use your ship's radar to line up on a red dot, then press T to target them. All ships are indicated by chevrons, red for bad guys, blue for friendlies. You can always clear a target by pressing left Alt and T. Some guns will have a gimbaled semi-automatic aim mode. If you prefer fixed weapons that fire where you shoot them like I do, then just press G to lock them in place. This is just something to experiment around with. But when you've got an enemy targeted, you're going to get a leading pip. Since they're moving, it's no good you shooting directly at them. You have to lead the shot by firing at the pip. Now I am by no means the best person to be teaching ship combat, and there are many people out there more qualified than me. I think there are 4 things I can tell you now that will help you in the beginning. Number 1, always keep moving. When you're trying to shoot stuff, you can end up stopping and standing still. This will get you dead very quickly, so always keep moving and trying to be somewhat evasive. Number 2, focus on your accuracy. Your laser weapons have limited magazines before they have to recharge, and ballistic weapons have finite ammunition. So make the most of your passes with the enemy by trying to develop some trigger discipline. Try to only shoot when you've got a shot. This includes working out what the extent of your range is with your particular weapons. Number 3, don't zip around too quickly. If you're flying around at 800 meters per second, chances are you aren't going to hit a thing. And finally, number 4, if you find yourself taking a bit of a beating, don't be afraid to run away and let your shields recharge before re-engaging. You're no use to anyone dead, and this is especially important when you take the skills you learn in Arena Commander into the PU. Bounty hunting missions will fail if the target takes you out, so it's always better to run away and live to fight another day. Even if that means going all the way back to a station to repair your ship before coming back to try again. Another cool feature of AC is the ability to rent ships for reg. So if you want to try out something fancy before committing to spending your hard-earned AUEC, give it a test drive in Arena Commander. And keep in mind that rentals aren't just an Arena Commander thing. If you want to dip your toe into something new in the persistent universe, there are tons of ship rental kiosks around Stanton. For example, if you want to try your hand at something a bit more industrial like mining, you can rent either a Misk Prospector mining ship or a Drake Cutty Black and a rock mining buggy from kiosks at refinery stations like Arkel 1. On this channel you'll find a bunch of more specific guides on all sorts of game loops, so take a look at some of them next. But after you've been hard at work grinding away for a little while, or maybe after a mysterious benefactor sends you a couple million credits, you're going to be ready to grab yourself something shiny from the ship shops. The Stanton system has 3 ship shops currently: Astra Armada at Area 18, New Deal at Lorville on Hurston, and the Crusader Industries showroom at Orison on Crusader. Between them, the ship shops have nearly every ship that's available to fly in-game. New ships tend to be made exclusively available first to the people who pledged hard currency for them. They get them for around 6 months, before they make their way into the game for credits. And right now you'll be able to find ships that cover every game loop from beginner to expert in the shops. It's worth keeping in mind that ships do not necessarily heap a ton of power on you in Star Citizen. Certain ships have a ton of potential for sure, but it does rely on you having the skills to use it. And that's why for new players I can't recommend starting with a modest starter ship highly enough, even if you just move on from that fairly quickly. Mustangs and Auroras may not be the coolest of ships, but they'll make you work to get the most out of them, and make you much better as a player along the way. Plus, the feeling of progression when you get behind the sticks of something that's a significant step up isn't something everybody wants to skip past with a quick swipe. So I know that was a long one, but you're here at the end, so hopefully you found it useful and it made the first few hours in game a little bit less daunting. If you did get something out of it and think I deserve it, I would greatly appreciate a like and subscribe. I guess my very last piece of advice for new folks getting into SC now is not to wait too long to find a community to enjoy the game with. Right now, there's a bunch of game loops that you can enjoy, and with the dynamic events and some of the newer missions, we're starting to see the theme park aspect of the game flesh out a little bit. But generally speaking, versus other more complete titles, Starset can feel a little empty when playing solo. What we do have though is one of the best sandboxes I think I've ever played. And it's all set up so you can get anywhere up to 100 people together doing stuff. You can find plenty of information about player organisations and communities through the organisations page on the website, and you're of course welcome to hop into the Frontier community via the Discord link in the video description down below. But with all that said, I just want to say thank you very much for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you next time.